Thank you everyone for tuning in. You are watching the Camper Report Live. We have a new guest today. Welcome everyone to, I don't know what to call this show, but we are here with Rob Schuh. You can find his channel. It's just Rob Schuh right now. How are you doing? It's been a while. You know, you were one of my first guests, but I haven't had you on in a while, and I'm so pumped to have you on. You have a flashy new background. It's looking really good.
Appreciate that, Ben. Yeah, I'm doing well, man. The channel has come a long way since you and I first got together,
Yes.
and I came on the show here. Absolutely thrilled with how things are going. Talking 49ers on my YouTube channel. I just passed over the 800 subscriber mark, continuing to climb toward that all-important 1,000 subscribers, and then on from there. Yeah, upgraded the equipment as well, but it's a pleasure to be back here talking 49ers with you, Ben.
Thank you. We have a lot to talk about. The 49ers just lost to the Colts, so it was not good. So, I mean, we have a lot to talk about, and let's get to the first one. Let's see. I'm trying to find it. Okay, here we go. Which one? I think this is it. Okay, yeah. Which one? Sorry. Is Kyle Shanahan's playbook different from his creative days? I forgot to put it in there, or as the league caught up to him.
Yeah, it's a great question because you're certainly looking at a Kyle Shanahan offense that isn't super successful to this point, right? I mean, it looks disjointed. It looks as if he's just not comfortable. He's not in his bag. I would say this is a bit of both. A bit of, yes, the league has caught up to him a little bit, and I think he's gotten away from what he does best. So certainly there are now more teams running a version of Kyle Shanahan's offense, and that allows NFL defenses to practice against what they had not seen Kyle doing before. But everything you see from his coaching tree, Sean McVay, the LaFleurs, all of that branches off of what Kyle Shanahan likes to do within his offensive scheme. And therefore, NFL defenses are coming against it more and more frequently. So yes, I do believe that it is a problem that more and more teams are caught up to. More and more NFL defenses are prepared for the type of rushing attack that Kyle Shanahan prepares with the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I think it's more, I mean, we definitely haven't been seeing as much of the bootleg kind of things, which is weird because I feel like 50% of the snaps when he used to be good, when he was in 2019, when he was really mind-boggling teams, I feel like 50% of the snaps were like play actions, bootlegs, a lot of that stuff. And we saw it a few times in the Colts game, but I just really didn't, I don't know what it is. Maybe he's trying to adjust to, maybe he's trying to copy more of the Seattle scheme where, it's not as much, it's more shotgun, but I'm not sure what it is.
Certainly, you'd like to think that it is a problem that resides with Kyle. You look at the first drive against the Indianapolis Colts, right? The scripted drive where we just ran it down their throats. And yes, I am the type of fan that uses we when talking about the 49ers.
Yeah.
We ran it down their throats, even though I didn't carry the ball on a single snap on Sunday night. And then you watched Kyle get away from it, right? Making a mental error of getting away from something that was working really well. So I do believe that more of the problem resides with Kyle. I agree with you that you saw significantly more play action, under center, play action drop back. I guess you could argue that Kyle's system is very much dependent upon complementary style of football. And therefore, if they are struggling to complete third downs and stay on the field, then they can't truly get into the type of offense he's attempting to run. He likes to set up those play actions earlier in the game. So he'll run out of the same formation multiple times with multiple looks. And then it's that play action that catches you off guard when you as a defense are guarding against something else and the play action burns you over the top. So we've seen significantly less of that. But I wonder if part of that is because the offense can't stay on schedule. They can't stay on the field. They're constantly in 3 and outs beyond the scripted plays, that scripted series to start the game. It's just been a disjointed offense for the 49ers the vast majority of this year.
And, I mean, what do you think they do to fix that? Do you do more of those play action plays? I think at this point you need, obviously everyone says it, Trey Lance, but is there any way to do it, do you think, with Jimmie Garoppolo? I mean,
I think there is. I get what people are saying with Trey Lance. You inject Trey Lance and you're injecting excitement. You are actually inserting excitement into the game and explosive plays. We all know that is going to happen. But I believe Kyle would do best if he would simply dial back what he's attempting to do. It appears as if he's attempting to do too much. And that the challenge that he threw out on the field, the challenge flag, when it was clear that was not a fumble, seems to me to be an illustration of Kyle with too much on his plate at that time. So what I'd like to see is Kyle simplify, scale it back. Your offense right now is overly complicated. You're attempting to do too much, and players aren't executing on the basics. So let's get back to basics. Let's simplify. Let's call the playbook down to those core plays, and let's get back to it and do less, but do it better. I think right now the 49ers are desperate, and they're attempting to do too much on offense.
That's a good point, though. They're attempting to do too much. You said it best, because the thing is they're trying to get back in games. They're not really running the ball as much as I guess that first drive they were, but then they go away from it too quickly. It almost reminds me of like what the Eagles used to do with Doug Peterson. It reminds me, I've said this over and over again, it reminds me of Doug Peterson's last year with the Eagles last year. Basically, they start off really hot, but then they don't finish well because they don't stick with what is what is working, basically. And that's what I just don't get. But yeah. So. Yeah,
absolutely. It something needs to change. At this point in time, you cannot continue to do what you've been doing to this point and expect any different result. The 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, first and foremost, must find the answer to this question. We, as here, try to prognosticate what is going on with this team. We take educated guesses at what's going on in the locker room. But the only one who has the concrete answers to what in the hell is going on with this team is Kyle Shanahan. In the press conferences, he is forthright to some extent, but I get the sense from him that he potentially does not have the answers at this point in time. And that's the first time I've felt that during the Kyle Shanahan era, Ben. This is the first time I have said that our genius head coach may not actually have the answer to the problems right now.
It sure looks that way. Maybe it was even that way last year, but it was masked over by all the injuries, and everyone was sold on it. It was all this thing to basically sell 49ers fans, and maybe it wasn't something. I mean, again, we go back, I don't want to mention the 2019 year again, but the injuries, we had injuries that year too, and we were able to come through. And so, I mean, could be something different. This is the fact that we're not having that many injuries this year. When you're winning, my brother said it last night, when you're winning, it masks over everything.
Yes, it does.
But now that they're not winning, and they've not been winning for 2 consecutive years, that's when the problems start to show up.
And the opposite of that is true as well, that when teams are continually losing, those problems that are underneath the surface will bubble up. They will become public, right? Because the frustration builds within the organization as well. We as fans are frustrated. We as fans are pissed that our team isn't doing what we expected them to do coming into the season. But from a player perspective, they're pissed too. And they start to look for excuses, and they start to turn to one another and say, well, is it me or is it you? So some of the ugly things within a locker room can bubble up as well. I think that's what you start to see. Winning will solve everything. If the 49ers can get back on track and win a couple of games, some of these questions will naturally subside. But if
Right.
they manage to drop a fifth game in a row to an inconsistent, somewhat sorry Chicago
Bears.
Bears team,
Oh.
forget about it.
Yeah, it's looking bleak right now. And I think we obviously, that's another story for another day, but I think we have a very good chance to beat the Chicago Bears. But I said the same thing about the Colts. And
Me too.
yeah.
Me
So
too.
let's move on. Let's see. Why do you think, hold on. Why is Kyle Shanahan, why do you think Kyle Shanahan is still pulling with Jimmie Garoppolo?
Yeah, at this point, I do believe that at least a portion of Kyle is thinking that he'd rather roll with Trey. I think that he would at least be a bit more open to exploring it, if not
Right.
for Trey's injury. I think that sort of negates the decision this week. You're stuck with Jimmie Garoppolo at this point. When you've
Exactly.
got Trey returning from the knee injury, first and foremost for me, the highest priority this season is the development of Trey Lance. The Super Bowl aspirations
Yeah,
for me
that's
are
true.
out the window. I need to look for hope on the horizon. I need to see this rookie progressing, and I need to see him progressing arm in arm with Coach Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, exactly.
But I need the development to be careful in that you can't get him hurt, right? So I say let him get 1,000% healthy. If the knee is still bothering him, he can't play. And I think that took the decision away from Kyle. You had a limited practice today for Trey. If you're going to throw him in, let's set him up for success. Give him a full week of practice. Make sure he was there from the outset. Make sure he was there when they installed this week's game plan. Make sure he had all the reps to try and set himself up for success. Because people talk about getting Trey experience, and I'm all for it. But let's not forget that it is possible to crush a rookie's confidence. It is possible to do what the Texans did to David Carr, to do what the 49ers did to Alex Smith. You can throw a quarterback in too early if he is ill prepared to take over. I do think that Trey has such physical skills that he
That's
could
true.
overcome a lot of that. But again, bigger priority is not ruining Trey. And so, again, the biggest thing preventing Kyle from implementing anything with Trey this week would be the injury. But I'll say this. Barring a resurgence by Jimmy G this week, I mean like a multiple touchdown victory.
Yeah, and no interceptions.
Yeah, I'm still calling for Trey once he's healthy. That's the stance I have moved forward with. And Matt Mayoko has moved over to that stance as well.
It's really, I really wanted to see the Trey Lance, Justin Fields, like, duel it out kind of game. Which one is better? Which one can which one is more physically gifted? That would have been
Right?
such a good matchup
Oh,
to
would have been
watch.
beautiful.
And I don't get it, because the thing is like, you had a quarterback who can't even throw it downfield 10 yards, was missing read after read last week against the Colts. And I don't want to hear the rain as an excuse for throwing it, because Carson Wentz was just dime after dime downfield, and he was beautiful throwing. Jimmie Garoppolo missed a few touchdowns downfield. You probably saw the Mohamed Sanu one.
I did.
That was, wow.
Atrocious.
Yeah, that was bad. And so I just, yeah, I mean, that's basically the bottom line. You have to throw it. You can't do that, because the thing is no matter in the rain or whatever it is, there's not an excuse. And so Trey Lance gives you that downfield opportunity. I don't know why you would stick with Jimmie Garoppolo at this point when he's throwing 2 picks per game and is pretty, I mean, his days of top 20 play are over. I think he's a very bottom of the league type quarterback.
I think it is fair to question that, what you just hit on right there, the more greater than 1 turnover per game for Jimmie Garoppolo right now. I could see coming into this season what Kyle was thinking, that Jimmy has a grasp of our playbook. Jimmy knows the playbook through and through.
Yeah,
This
it was
is
a
his
safe
4th
answer.
year in the system, right? So he gives us a better chance to win. But once you've seen consistently Jimmy
Bad
struggle
play.
this season, I mean, he is he's a game manager that doesn't manage the game, right? He's a game manager in the fact that he doesn't push the ball down the field. He's very conservative in those looks that he's going for, but he's the opposite of a game manager in that he's turning the ball over several times a game. And those two things cannot coexist and have a healthy situation in the quarterback room. Sure, if you're a gunslinger and you're throwing multiple touchdowns every game and you throw the occasional pick or cough up the occasional fumble, I'm good with that. But if you're not pushing the ball down the field, you're not leading to explosive plays, but you are leading to explosive plays for the other team, that's a problem.
And the problem with it is not only is he doing, and we're going to get to this later, which one do they need more, good cornerback play or whatever, but your whole team really is, I mean, we can all agree on this. There is a lot less talent on your team than we thought it would be at the beginning of the season, on our team, than we thought it would be at the beginning of the season. I mean, there's just not that much talent right now. I don't know why, but we're being almost like out. Yeah, I don't know.
The talent isn't living up to what we believed it could be. I still actually believe that there is talent on this team. It's just not being utilized. It's not showing up in the games. I still have faith that this team is talented. They're just not good.
Yeah. This guy actually is, I've never seen him in the chat before. So
what's up, Wanda?
Nice to see you. And yeah, his jersey is pretty nice.
I appreciate that, Wanda. Yeah, I got the Jerry hoodie going on. Had to get some new NFL Shop gear for the new mojo because I had to change it up a little bit.
Yeah. So we could get to the next one if that's fine with you. Anything else to say on?
Absolutely. No, please.
So let's see. Let's get to the breaking news. That's another one that happened today. We'll get to that right away and then other things later. But the 49ers were offered a second-round pick for Jimmie Garoppolo. Basically, this book came out. It was some reporter that reported this. And
Seth Wickersham.
Okay. Do you know anything more on this, basically?
No, the details that are reported in Seth Wickersham's tell-all book about the New England Patriots basically come to the conclusion that, according to his sources, people he's spoken with, that someone within the New England Patriots front office, it did not specify it, and it certainly did not imply it was Bill Belichick, reached out to someone high up within the 49ers organization. Again, did not name names, did not imply it was Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch, but someone up in the in the 49ers organization, and inquired about the trade value of Jimmie Garoppolo on day one of the draft. What they were told was asking price is a first rounder. What they told the 49ers, according to Seth Wickersham, was we're willing to offer you a second round pick for Jimmie. And they turned it down. Now, Kyle today was asked about that in his press conference, and he did deny it, flat out. Denied it.
Oh, yeah, he said,
at all.
Grant Cohn asked him it.
He did. But let's be honest that from a PR perspective, that's the play, whether it's true or not. You deny. There's nothing to be gained from saying, yeah, you're right. We could have gotten a second for Jimmie. So it begs the question of how painful does this make you feel? And that's my question for you, Ben, is as a fellow fan, what painful. Are you left with feeling about that?
It's super painful because, number one, even if you drafted Aaron Banks, you realize you could have had Asante Samuel as well, because that Patriots pick, somebody in a podcast that I was listening today, I think it was Haberman and Middlecoff, that Patriots pick was the 45th pick. It was a very high pick. I think it was 2 picks before Asante Samuel originally went to the Chargers. Okay. You think about the 49ers secondary right now. Okay. Asante Samuel would be so good in this secondary. It would be amazing. Not only would you have Aaron Banks, but you could also pick up a much needed cornerback. And it's funny that right now, it's even more funny to me that the 49ers, all of these stories are coming out that are making Kyle Shanahan, they're finally coming out, that are making Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and the whole front office staff look like idiots. And so it's crazy to me to think that all of this is coming out now. And it's like, man, I mean, your jobs are definitely, with this story coming out, your jobs are definitely on the line, because a second round pick, you could maybe get like a seventh for Jimmie Garoppolo right now. So
Yeah. So let me give you my take on it, which is a little bit different from your own, only in that I don't see that as the mistake. Once they got to the draft, in my mind, in what I saw, the 49ers were pot committed to their strategy, meaning they had already pushed a lot of their chips into the
Jason
middle of the
Verrett, yeah,
table and said, we are rolling with Jimmy G this year. Had they pulled the ripcord on that one at that moment, yeah, the second rounder would have been great, but then you'd be looking at forcing Trey Lance to start day one, or
that's
handing
true.
the reins over to Josh Rosen or Nate Sudfeld.
Right.
And that would have been a hard sell for 49ers fans. I do believe that we as a fan base, and especially 49er Twitter, is viewing this through a 2-4 lens. They're looking back with hindsight being 2020. I think if most fans took themselves back to that draft day, more of them would understand the reasoning. They still would be upset because there's a lot of vitriol, a lot of disdain for Jimmy with the
Right.
way in which he's performed amongst the fan base. But other than people wanting to ship him out, I think they would have agreed that there was no one to bring in at that point. All the bridge quarterbacks were gone. I thought maybe Fitzpatrick was still available. No, already signed. All
That's
the
true.
key guys that you could have brought in. So to me, the failure by the 49ers front office was the entire strategy. It was trying to sell
Right.
us on this
Yeah.
idea that you could have Jimmy G and compete for a Super Bowl and develop Trey Lance. That was the thing we should be upset about. And that happened well before that draft day came up. Had they made the correct call there to begin with, Jimmy would have been long gone by the time we got to the draft, and we wouldn't be sitting in this same problem. So I understand 49ers fans' frustration. I do think it's probably a bit irrational. And that's because
Yeah.
we're emotional at this point, and I get it.
We are, and the thing is, you do bring up a very good point about the whole plan, because the plan to bring back all these veterans, to bring back Jimmie Garoppolo, obviously drafting. I mean, this draft has not turned out. The last two drafts, I've been looking at the last two drafts. None of the players have turned out in the top rounds like we've wanted them to. So I think, yeah, the whole plan. I mean, that's basically it. Has not turned out right.
Yeah,
So
roster construction this year, highly
last
questionable moves
2 years,
across the board.
2 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
been,
fair.
because I mean, you have Javon Kinlaw needing probably season-ending surgery. He got drafted. Like, the last good draft that we had was the 2019 draft with Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, Dre
Right.
Greenlaw, all in that one. But
Yeah,
other
a lot
than
of home
that,
runs there.
a lot of home runs. But other than that, I mean, it's really not been great the past 2 years. And if this is on Kyle Shanahan's, and you're looking ahead to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's resume, this does not look good, because to Jed York, with all these stories coming out, you're like, okay, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this, every single mistake. And now it's like, you can't really defend yourself anymore when you've made so many mistakes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to me to see if Jed succumbs to the fan pressure. In years past, he has been very susceptible to fan upheaval. When fans get overly upset, when they let him hear it on Twitter, when he's hearing it at the games, he tends to be reactionary there. I do think that his growth in that area is a positive step. So I actually hope he doesn't respond to the fan uproar, but it's going to get louder and louder unless this
Yeah.
season gets back on track. And at some point, I can't imagine that Jed won't succumb to it.
Yeah, and I mean, every owner has to. I mean, this
Yes.
is this is like, fans already think the season's over, but at this point, it's still not over. You have to beat the Bears. I mean, what do they have after that? I think they have the Rams or Cardinals after that. I think it's the
Yeah,
Rams.
those are the next two, are the Rams and the Cardinals. I don't recall which order it happens in. I believe it's LA and then Arizona.
Arizona.
But yes, I mean, it is a brutal. We have one of the hardest remaining schedules in the NFL. I want to say top
Right.
5 as far as hardest remaining schedules based on current win-loss totals.
Yep, and I mean, our roster's not getting any different, so figure it out. We haven't figured it out lately, and there's not a lot of faith, I feel like, and I don't have a lot of faith that they'll figure it out if they didn't figure it out against the Colts, you know?
Yes, that's a fair critique. The Colts were a team that was badly dinged up. They were a team that you should have been able to take advantage of. They were a struggling team. They very much mirrored where the 49ers were at that point in the season. And to lose to them says something. It says something about where you are against a mediocre team.
Right. That's a good point. So we could get, do you have anything else to say on that one?
Oh, please. Next topic would be great.
Yeah. So which one do the 49ers need more? Better QB play or better cornerback play?
That's a tough one for me. I've got to say that I put this primarily on the coaching above both of those positions. I feel like, to me, it starts at the top. To me, it has to be about better coaching. You've got a defensive back room that is not a bunch of rookies, right? You have a couple of rookies in there, but they're not playing because we don't have any trust in our rookies. And so we play veterans off of the street, right? So Josh Norman, Dre Kirkpatrick, these are not spring chickens. These are not guys who don't know how to play in the NFL. And so to have as many blatant grabs as someone's heading past you as you're getting burned, every now and then each play is different. I hate to sound like Kyle Shanahan here, but each play is different. There's some that are a good call, right? The grab in the end zone by Norman, the first PI call on him, stopped a touchdown, and then the Niners held the opposing team out of the end zone. I forget which game that was. Was that Seattle? Held them out of the end zone and stopped them there. And so sometimes a penalty is a good thing, but where we are right now, teams are highly incentivized to just chuck it up against us. Why not? Because there's a reasonable chance they catch it, and if they don't, there's a 50-50 chance we get called for PI. So it has reached an untenable point, and this has to be on the players, but I think above that, it's got to be on the defensive backs coach. That is the one reactive move I could see happening this Sunday. And could be warranted, could be a firing of a defensive backs coach. I could see us letting go of, I think it's Undlin is his name. I had it in the show.
Yeah,
earlier.
I thought he was better because he's more of a man-to-man corner guy than the last one who played a lot more zone.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that it would be a step in the right direction, but what we've seen to this point is just these penalties, and you have to lay the blame on somebody. So for me, it's the coaching, and the same with the quarterback situation. I'll go one further to say that from an organizational standpoint, they handled it poorly as well. I mean, just setting up Jimmy to fail by basically flirting with every quarterback option out there and then settling back on Jimmy and being, wow, Jimmy, you're our guy. You're our guy. We've got faith in you. BS. If you had faith in him, you would not have pursued Stafford and Trubisky and Darnold and anyone with a pulse that can play quarterback. So I would, if I had to put it on one of those rooms or the other, right now I'd say quarterback because I'm just so frustrated with so many years of inconsistency from Jimmy G. But I'm taking it up one notch and laying it at the coaching level.
Yeah, the coaching hasn't been the greatest. And for the corners, I'm going to say something different with the corners. The quarterback play, it has been coaching. We've seen it that it hasn't all been Jimmie Garoppolo to this point. Kyle Shanahan has been nothing short of atrocious the last 3 games. Okay. It's been very bad how he's handled this Trey Lance thing. So it's really been the coaching. And the league, might have caught up to him. With the corners, though, so that's why I'm not going to say corners, because the thing with them is pass interference penalties. That was a big 100 yards of pass interference penalties. That's terrible. We are the worst team in that category.
Terrible.
Josh Norman, terrible. Emmanuel Mosley now. Is he going to play next game?
I'm not sure of his status right now. I think it's up in the air, but I felt that it was optimistic. I think he will play.
Okay. Well, anyways. So, we knew when Jason Verrett left, it was going to be a big loss, but
yes, we did.
This team, we said that we needed Asante Samuel earlier on because the Patriots offered us a second round pick. So it's coming back to bite us, but I'm going to say corners because I feel like if the coaching can be a little bit better and maybe weapons can come back for the offense, maybe the quarterback play could be a little bit better. But the cornerback play isn't ever going away. It's just not. So
yeah, we definitely are bereft of talent in that cornerback room. It was, again, a flawed strategy going in to make your number one shutdown corner a guy that has historically been unable to stay healthy throughout a season and not have a suitable backup plan. I mean, they did invest in the draft, but they invested a bit late. You would have liked them to take one of those top corners in the top 50 picks and not wait until the 100 range before taking a player that sat out last season and was viewed as a project for future years, right? You probably didn't view Ambry Thomas to come in right away and contribute at a high level.
Yeah, that's a good point you make there. And I mean, the reports about Jimmie Garoppolo, man, we could have taken Aaron Banks and Asante Samuel.
Yep. Hindsight is 2020.
It's maybe if we would have heard that, like you said earlier on at the draft, we might have not been as mad as we are now. But yeah, wow.
Yeah, it'd be a lot different if we were sitting at 4-2, right? We wouldn't be so upset that we had hung on to Jimmie. We would say, well, it was the cost of doing business this year so that we could stay competitive. But now, Jimmie having been injured again, struggling again, it's clear to 49ers fans that it was a bad choice for sure. And it stings.
Yeah, it really does. So we could get to the next one, I guess, the next topic. I'm trying to look for it here. Okay, here we go. We've already kind of talked about, but can we say that at this point, that Jimmie Garoppolo's top 20 days, QB days, are over?
I think you have to, even for someone who initially placed him 2019, probably around that 10 to 12 range. If you had asked me back then, yeah, that was where I had Jimmie peaking out. And I do think that I was slow in moving him down. I wanted to believe that he was a top 15 quarterback. I was never delusional about his production, but I did see him in that 10 to 15 range. And then I had to consider maybe it's the 15 to 20 range. And now what I have to say is back to the confidence issue. I think that for whatever positives Kyle Shanahan has as a coach, he's a perfectionist. I think it comes through on the sidelines. You can see him get upset when people don't do exactly what he expected them to do in that moment. And he clearly favors the stick approach from the carrot or stick, so that if someone's not performing, he berates them or calls them out in public. Some of these things that are a bit more of challenging a player, face to face, sort of calling them out. And that doesn't work with every human being. Some human beings just do not respond to that type of coaching. I thought you saw it with Dante Pettis, who just shut down. And you could tell he was not bought into whatever way in which he was being coached or treated as a player.
Could be Brandon Ayuk now, but I think he's a little bit tougher than Dante Pettis
I'd like to think so, because Herm Edwards describes him as being very mentally tough. So I'm optimistic that he'll turn around. But if he doesn't, it'll be a similar circumstance. You'll be able to point back to it and say to yourself, was this another instance where Kyle was unable to build someone's confidence and instead tore him down?
And that makes Kyle Shanahan look super bad. I don't care how bad Jimmie Garoppolo is. Brandon Ayuk was a way better. Oh, sorry, my voice just cracked. Way better, way better receiver than Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis was like a mid-second round pick. This guy is a first-round pick.
Yeah, you traded up to get him.
His talent is off the charts. I don't care about problems getting trouble separation. That you can find somebody a way to get somebody the ball. It's really easy. And so the thing is that really is bad for Kyle Shanahan. I mean, it does not throw a good look on Kyle Shanahan.
It doesn't. And that ties back into what I think he's done to Jimmy G. I think he's damaged Jimmy's confidence possibly beyond repair, at least beyond repair within this organization. I do not think that you can see a fully functional Jimmy G within Kyle Shanahan's offense. Go back and watch. There's a 2017 tape of Jimmy from his 5-game streak where he was lighting the world on fire.
Yeah.
He's at the podium. It was just on Twitter in the last couple of days. Bonta Hill retweeted it. Niner Nick threw it out there. You can find it pretty easy, those who are watching. Watch Jimmy's body language. The dude is so confident. He's unflappable. There is no twitching. There's no nervousness. He's standing in front of that crowd like he owns the room.
Yeah.
And then flash forward and watch him now. Watch the nervous tick that he has when he touches his face. He does it a lot. He does it a lot in the press conferences, and it's very much a nervous tick. You can absolutely see that it's coming from someone whose confidence is damaged. And I do blame Kyle Shanahan for that. So long-winded answer to your question. As long as he's with the 49ers, not a top 20 quarterback. But I do think it's possible you could see some other coach who grasps a different way of coaching players. You might see them coax the 2017 version of Jimmy back out of him. And that guy was a top 10 to 15 quarterback in my mind.
So who would you rather, Teddy Bridgewater, who is a fringe top 20 quarterback, or Jimmie Garoppolo? That's really the that's really the mark of where, because Teddy Bridgewater maybe is a top 20 QB. So who is better, basically?
I think it would have been a much wiser move to Teddy Bridgewater as the bridge quarterback for this season. I don't think that Teddy is a much better quarterback than Jimmy, but I would put them as similar skill sets.
Yeah.
And Teddy does not seem to have as many moments where it just locks up on him and he throws directly to a defender. I mean, Jimmy has a tendency to do that at an alarming rate. For a guy who doesn't push the ball down the field, his ability to throw a pass directly to a linebacker is second to none. You could have had Bridgewater for significantly less. So that's my issue, is you could have moved on someone that we're not emotionally committed to as a team, as an organization, someone that the locker room wouldn't have been emotionally committed to, someone that would have been cheaper. There were so many reasons to move on from Jimmy as the bridge quarterback, even if Lance was your clear-cut, setting concrete plan of going forward. I just... They should have pulled the trigger on one of those other quarterbacks they were flirting with, and it's a shame that they didn't. And such a shame that they made it so public that they flirted with each and every one of them.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, just like any other job, I mean, it really messes with you because, I mean, you're not even in a place that wants you anymore, so it's harder.
No, like how good do you feel about your job if every day you come in, you watch your boss interview someone else for your position, and they're like, "Don't worry, we're not going to bring that. You're still our guy, but like if they're better than you, we might bring them in, and you might be gone." How secure would you feel? You would feel terrible. And Jimmy put on a brave face, and he said all the right things, but I have to imagine that it just further shattered his confidence, and I think that's been the story of his unfortunate demise here in San Francisco. It's going from a guy who came in feeling like he could light the world on fire, looking like he could light the world on fire, and then being reverted to a shell of his former self.
It's a good point. We've already kind of touched this topic, but real quick, was this the final game? The Colts game obviously did not end well. Was this the final game that Jed York decided that John Lynch and Kyle, meaning Kyle Shanahan, have to go?
I think it's possible.
It really is.
Didn't this game feel a whole hell of a lot like that Seattle game in 2014 on Thanksgiving that led to Jed York angry tweeting and being like, this is unacceptable for the 49ers organization and we won't tolerate this going forward, and it cost Jim Harbaugh his job. This game had that same feel to me, that it was a franchise altering type of a game. And so I don't know that Jed certainly locked in on firing one or both of them, but what I will say is I guarantee that Jed, if he was sitting back in his chair, is now sitting up and is now completely in tune with the idea that something may have to change. I still think that it's more likely to be John Lynch. I know that there's logic out there that says if you get rid of one, really you get rid of both because they came in as a package deal. They got extended as a package deal. You don't really know who gets more credit and more blame, and therefore probably best to cut the ties with both. I disagree. To me, my hope is that Jed, if he's going to sacrifice one of the two, it's John Lynch, because I'm less clear on what he brings to the organization that couldn't be replaced by a more capable GM, someone with a bit more experience in the NFL at that
maybe
position.
A stronger scouter than John Lynch. Sorry, I interrupted. But.
No, not at all. Please jump in. Yeah, that to me is the key, is someone who's stronger at scouting, but also willing to stand up against Kyle and really get in his face and challenge him when need be.
That's true. That's a good point. And hopefully after this season, when Jimmie Garoppolo's gone, hopefully you see Kyle Shanahan open up a little bit more because it is a tough situation to go into. So hopefully you'll see a little bit more of that. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm not sure who made all these decisions about the rookies. I think it was a lot of John Lynch's decisions this year about the rookies, but I think it was Kyle Shanahan's decision to bench them.
Right. It's shared guilt for sure.
And I mean, again, when you're at John Lynch, Jed York, you're looking at this game just like you were the Miami game. I mean, you're mad, It's a must-win game, and it's just like last year when, even though it wasn't as much of a blowout, but you're looking at this game and we just lost to like a mediocre team, How bad can it get?
Right.
And our defense, as bad as all of us want to, like every coaching staff gets Fs for this game, but the defense did get 2 takeaways, I think.
They did, and it came early, right? This thing looked like it was going to be a snowball the other way, Ben. It looked like it was going to be rolling for the 49ers. Come in, they're unstoppable for that first drive. Then they pop the turnover, the peanut punch by Norman, right?
Yeah.
Recovers that fumble. We're immediately in field goal range. It feels like they're not going to be able to stop us. But sure enough, Kyle Shanahan got in his own way, got away from what was working, and we ended up tiring out our own defense, right? Our own offense seemed to shoot the defense in the foot.
And I was watching that game and saying to my dad, I mean, you can blame the defense for the pass interferences all you want. But the thing is, at the end of the day, when your offense doesn't give your defense a break, any knowledgeable football fan knows this. Your defense starts breaking down. It's just what happens in the NFL, especially in a rainy game. I wouldn't want to be playing that game for 45 minutes if you're a defense. No way, under the pouring rain. So, yeah.
Yep. I'm thankful that I saw heart in that game because it was one that you feel could have gone really badly, could have looked worse than it did. At least you saw fight in the defense throughout the entirety of it. But man, the end of that game, watching DeForest Buckner sack Jimmy G to end the freaking game. I mean, picturesque and suitable for the fact that the 49ers traded away Buckner, but man, hard to watch.
Yeah. Anyways, so this is a good segue. I guess we've talked about it a lot during the show, but just a quick answer. I mean, how come none of the 49ers offseason moves have worked? I said in the text when I was doing the topics to you, Samson Ebukam is a main one. That one, great signing, just didn't work out. Looked like a good signing at the beginning and just didn't work out. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's confusing to me because many of these were signings that I got behind. The Samson Ebukam one in particular, I thought that was a quality signing in the offseason. And I do, again, not to go too Kyle Shanahan here, but there are individual reasons for each one. And my hope with Ebukam is that it is lingering effects of the hamstring injury that he's been dealing with since camp.
I didn't know that.
Hope that he continues to round back into form. But here's what I'll say. This was my point in thinking about it, was that each case is different, but there's a commonality here, and I think it's development. All of these players that aren't doing what we expected of them were players that were somehow going to take the next step. And in order to take the next step, coaching staffs have to pour into those individuals. They have to develop those individuals. They have to take things that they're not comfortable with or not good at and make them comfortable, make them good in those areas. And Kyle lost 10 coaches this offseason.
Really?
10 coaches.
I guess,
so.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it much, but if you think, even though the vast majority of those were, assistant coaches or quality control coaches, he did lose his defensive coordinator, and he did lose, in effect, half of his offensive coordinator in losing Mike LaFleur. So at this point, I'm left with nothing but that to speculate about. There must have been significant drop-off in this coaching staff's ability to properly develop players because they were so shorthanded.
And I mean, who is it? LaFleur and
yes.
What's the other guy's name? McDaniels?
Mike
Whatever.
McDaniel, yeah.
Yeah, McDaniel. They always used to do stuff together, and so it must be hard, taking on the full load of it. It must be really, really hard.
Yeah.
Being Kyle Shanahan's now main man, that would be tough. It really would. And I don't know. I was thinking of it the other day. Ebiacom, Lance, Banks, what's his name? What's the running back? Oh my gosh.
Trey
Sermon, Ambry Thomas. None of these guys are getting, none of them's worked. And the thing is even Trent Williams a few years ago, you had, I guess Fred Warner's always going to be good, but not really him, but just a few of our, obviously Ebiacon, but none of these have worked. And it's been really frustrating. It's that's why you don't see your team improving at all from last year.
Yeah.
And that's why, you kind of see this team doesn't have talent because none of their players that were supposed to bring upgrades to their team are even really doing well. So.
Yeah, I go back to believing still that the talent is there. They're not being put in a position to use that talent, to turn that talent into results. And the 49ers coaching staff to this point is really struggling to develop players and properly prepare them to look like a polished product out on the field on Sunday. So the vast majority of these things, for me, trace back to root causes, either in the front office in a failure to properly evaluate a player, or with this coaching staff. I honestly don't see talent as the biggest issue on this 49ers team. And the reason that I still remain a little bit optimistic that maybe they will turn it around, because some of these issues, Ben, feel like you could flip the switch and the light will come on and they'll realize why they've been so poor in this one area and just turn it around. But maybe I've got rose-colored glasses on.
I don't know. I mean, it could be what you're saying is true. It's just why haven't they? I mean, you could clearly see it after week 3 that this was not working.
Yes.
I mean, that Packers game was bad.
Yes, it was.
And I mean, all bad teams, going back to the play calling, all bad teams in the first quarter always do good. That's just what it is. And then they never adjust. So, but I mean, on the optimistic side, again, like you said, they could turn it around. They could. Jimmie Garoppolo could. Hopefully, he gets his confidence back. But if Kyle Shanahan wants it to turn around, then he needs to maybe build up your quarterback's confidence a little bit more. Because what's the point of starting Jimmie Garoppolo when you're always gonna you're always gonna tear him down. So.
Yeah, and to your point, if that is the answer, if building up your quarterback's confidence is going to assist this, you have to ask the question, is it too late with Jimmy G? Have they just damaged that poor guy enough to where you're not going to be able to build his confidence up this season? And so to your point of if you want to inject something, you got to build the confidence up in Trey. You got to put your arms around the rookie, because it's not too late for him, thankfully. It's not too late to really embrace him, really for Kyle to just walk arm in arm. I mean, his success, at least with the 49ers, is now tied to Trey Lance. It would be positive momentum in my book if we could just see some sort of a relationship building there, right? A little bit of the
Yeah.
chemistry that you feel from
I
Andy
think that's
Reid
the
and
only
Patrick
way you
Mahomes.
turn stuff around in this season.
Yeah.
And maybe keep your job if he still wants it.
Right. If he still wants it. Honestly, that's a question right now when you look at him.
Yeah, it is. It is a big question. Let's see here. Anything else? Hold on. This is my brother real quick. I see Jimmy
Nice.
G's confidence like the Carson Wentz situation with the Eagles. That's what I've been saying that for weeks now. It's crazy. Last year, yeah.
I'm telling you, he may go to another organization and spring back to what we saw in 2017, because I do believe the difference between then and now is confidence. And I think it's shattered. And I don't think you can rebuild it with the 49ers. Or maybe you could have if you hadn't traded 3 first-round picks to draft a quarterback and flirted with every single quarterback out there. Maybe you could have salvaged it, but I doubt it. At this point, with what they've done to him this year, it is over, and the 49ers need to rip the Band-Aid off at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, everyone, it has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Rob Schuh. This has been a pleasure to have you on for the first time in like a few months, so it's been great.
Well, thank you, Ben. It was my pleasure to join you, and I thoroughly always enjoy talking 49ers, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, we will see you guys again later. I should be back probably tomorrow with my power rankings. We'll see you guys. Have a great rest of your guys' night, and peace.